Just in case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barrero's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
Interesting confession from a Badger fan. 414 guy writes, I love this segment. He means the Mace in Your Face segment a lot. The coach is so easy to listen to. I'm a Barry Alvarez guy being a Scotty, but he would never be this interesting on the radio. High praise.
Wow.
Very high praise. I made the mistake of reading that text to Mace off air, so it will go to his head. Of course he did. Kidding me? Well, Alvarez is interesting because Alvarez obviously is he's been wildly successful, right, as a coach and as an AD.
Yep.
And you know he's got a million stories.
For sure.
But he's, I think, an example of somebody that proves the point that just because you know the game a lot and know it well and have a lot of good stories doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be great imparting that stuff. That's the trick. The trick is not just having all that stuff in you. The trick is knowing how to pass it along.
He had an interesting backstory before his college coaching career started. I think he was the head coach at like Mason City, Iowa.
Really?
For a couple of years, and then Hayden Fry hired him.
That was how it started. Okay.
And the rest was history.
I wonder if he tried to get a Ball U calendar at Ball State. How about that? How good is that?
And they just added the Ball State. Don't you think they would have been okay?
Yeah. He wanted it racier, though. Mace wanted a little racier to the thing. Come to Ball U.
You might remember this, and I should have asked Mace. Was New Mexico hanging a bunch of banners for football back in the day? Because that's what inspired the whole thing.
It's a good point.
I'm not sure it necessarily worked for the Lobos.
Yeah. Looking back, I don't believe it did.
The Vikings have a new left tackle, and Kevin O'Connell said today that he would like to potentially add him to the mix, was the quote, when the Vikings host the Indianapolis Colts Sunday Night Football at People's Stadium this Sunday night here in Minneapolis. After we got off the air last night, Dan, I think by the time we got home, this trade was consummated between the Vikings and the Jacksonville Jaguars. Cam Robinson, the new left tackle. The Vikings will send a conditional 2026 7th-round pick. I'm sorry, the Jaguars will receive a conditional 2026 5th-round selection that could become a 4th-rounder based on playing time. Robinson is 29 in the final year of a contract that pays him $16.25 million this season. And in Twins fashion, the Jaguars are actually paying some of that salary this year. So low risk, possible Band-Aid reward for a guy in the final year of his deal who's had some injuries.
I sense that not only injuries, he's also been suspended once. 2023 in the summer, before the start of the 2023 season, he was suspended. I want to say it was for 4 games for violating the league's performance-enhancing drug policy.
Correct.
And I think Seifert's a little sheepish because Seifert led us to believe we're not going to do anything this ambitious. And I think he was surprised by it. And I have no idea whether this guy's the answer. The Jags had just benched him. Clearly, it appeared clear that they didn't want to keep him beyond this season. He has, as you mentioned, started 91 games for the Jags, although he's missed a bunch of games by injury, and then there was that suspension period. But it goes along with all I asked. That is, give yourself options.
Keep trying.
And you know he's not as good as Christian Darrisaw, but he's played. He's been a starter, and you're not really giving up that much. I think the pick that you get can also go away, depending on how much he plays, but neither of those are a big issue to me. If you can get better than the other options you have at left tackle, not greatness, but at least maybe serviceability, then this is a no-brainer. And so all along, my idea was just give yourself, you don't have to necessarily make him a fixture or plug him in, but take a look at him, kick the tires on him, and give yourself a potentially serviceable option that might be better than all the internal options. To me, that made all the sense in the world. And so to that extent, I think they did the Vikings did precisely what a good team should do. A good, well-run team should do, correct?
Yes, exactly. TJ Hawkinson was a full participant in practice today for the first time all season. As Ben Gessling reminds us, he's expected to make his 2024 debut on Sunday night. Blake Cashman worked on the side today. He was a DNP. Kevin O'Connell said he's still hopeful the Vikings will have Cashman on Sunday. They'll have a better idea after today. Colts head coach confirmed Joe Flacco will start Sunday night here in Minneapolis. Finchy.
Obviously, the dagger shots at the end when you're trying to come back are super painful, but they're a result of offensive rebounds, a result of transition not getting matched up quick enough when, Kyrie's getting loose on us. We got to solve those two things because that was key for us last year, being able to get back and rebound the ball at a high level.
Well, that's what makes this troubling. It's a one early season game, and if the things that prevented you from winning again at home against Dallas were different things, or, they hit 18 straight shots in the fourth quarter, you say, okay, well, we shored up the other areas where we were exposed against them last year. We seemingly learned some of the lessons that we had to, we were forced to learn the hard way. Then I don't think it would be as troubling. But this very much felt like one of those playoff games last year. Very much felt like that, in that it involved not getting back at times. It involved not rebounding effectively, actually probably even less effectively than a year ago, and just a ridiculous lack of discipline when it comes to giving up the ball, turning the ball over, notwithstanding the poor free throw performance, which you could say, well, if you fix that, none of the other things we would even be talking about. That may be true, but the turnovers, we ended up with 20. They ended up with a double-digit extra possessions, and that was what we were lamenting last year. And that's why it should bug people even this early in the season, that you go, it doesn't sound like we still have learned any of the lessons against a team that we now know. Well, we were reminded of what we already knew, has two killer shot makers late in the game. They didn't hit all their shots, but it feels like when it matters, they do hit all their shots, and you can't give them that kind of margin for error above and beyond the fact that they've got two finishers. For the moment, it looks like the Wolves have one.
According to Dane Moore, from the Dane Moore NBA podcast, no team in the NBA has allowed more transition opportunities to opponents thus far this season than the Wolves. A lot of that has to do with the turnovers, because in the NBA, if you turn it over, it's a pick six. It's going the other way. They're not grabbing it and slowing it down.
Right.
They're taking it the other way and possibly housing it. The Wolves host the Denver Nuggets on Friday night. That's their next game.
Struggling Denver Nuggets.
They got a win last night.
They did get a win last night.
Joker was absurd.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they're not doing particularly well. But they come here, another national TV game. I think it's ESPN
I thought we were going to do the show
night.
from Target Center.
We talked about it.
We did. It's a late game, though. It's an 8:30 start.
Oh, we talked about it for yesterday, more than we talked about it for Denver.
Oh, did we? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Originally.
Okay. All right.
But the game wasn't on the fan.
Yeah.
We were out at 6. We had Seifert.
Right.
We're kind of in that crossover section where everything's coming together.
Very true, David.
We were out at 6 because the Minnesota Wild were in Pittsburgh, and they got the victory in Flowers' last game there. It was a cool, pretty much day. Cool night. It was fun listening to Joe and Tom talk about Flower and hear the ovation when he was on the ice last night. And he rewarded everybody. The Wild got down 2-0, but they came back nicely. Kaprizov with another 3-point game. A couple of beautiful assists as well as an empty net goal. And Flower made some key saves in the third period to keep them afloat at 4-3 before they wrapped it up 5-3. So the road trip finishes 5-1-1.
Yes.
And they come back to host Tampa Bay on Friday night.
And Kaprizov has 18 points in 9 games. That includes 2 more outstanding assists last night to go along with the, I think, empty net goal. He has been not just a reasonably effective scorer, he's been a tremendous playmaker thus far.
As Louis said 2 weeks ago, he's a $14 million player.
Yeah.
That's what his next contract's going to be.
They'll
be
gladly
here
give it to
otherwise.
him. Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of money, the Fan and 2 men and a junk truck want to give you a shot to put $1,000 in your hand with our national cash contest. Final keyword of the evening is win, W-I-N. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword win.
We've got some texts to review. A couple other items I want to get to between now and 5:30 this very evening, and then we'll prepare for some political talk with Patrick Kessler. Kessler is going to be in the house as we get ever closer to decision time, Election Day 2024. Kessler coming up at the bottom of the hour. We're out at 6 today, is that correct?
Incorrect.
No, 6:30?
6:30 tonight.
Damn. Okay. Get spoiled. You get spoiled. I get spoilt.
We've got 5:45 coming up in November. We've got a couple more 6s coming up in November.
Do we?
Yes. It's that time of year.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that's percolating, one could say. Certainly on the political front, which we will get to with with Kessie in just a couple of minutes. I do also want to mention we did chat with Mike Conley to start the show. And Conley acknowledged the obvious. Because down the stretch of that game, he didn't come back in, that I recall. What was the lineup we basically went with? Even when we brought Rudy back in, the backcourt, did we stay? No, we didn't stay with Dante. I think we stayed with Naw.
Naw was in for a lot, yeah.
And as Conley pointed out, I got no problem with that. He said Nickeil was very good yesterday.
He's had a good start.
He has, and much needed, I must say. Because let's face it, with Naw, the key on him is the ability to hit shots. We know he's going to guard.
They're going to come to him.
We know he can handle the ball reasonably well, as another guy who can bring the ball up the court. But it's that inconsistency shooting. When he's hitting, you got something. There's no question. And I think maybe has realized, look, they went out and got Dante, so I'm going to have to hit those shots or I'm going to lose some time here. Because I don't even think we played DiVincenzo down the stretch either. But Conley said, look, we talked about this in training camp. We've all said that this is a year where we're going to have to accept the possibility that even if we start a game, we're not going to finish it. So he had no difficulty. Now, we've talked about it. He's the adult in the room. It's not surprising he would take that approach. Will all the other players take that approach? I don't know, because I really thought this might be the game where we would see Rudy on the bench down the stretch as well. And I want to say Rudy came back in with was it 4 minutes to go?
Around there. Range? That sounds right.
I would have preferred, to be honest, because the lineup that got them back in the ball game was with Randall at the 5. Now, there are limitations to that. It doesn't mean everything was working with him at the 5, but I didn't think Rudy had a particularly standout game. He has some obvious difficulties against their young, big men who they basically talked about it after the game. Well, what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to grab the rebound, then we're supposed to run, get ahead of all these guys. And then on the other end, grab offensive rebounds. But Conley said this is the way, he's willing to accept it. And on this occasion, it made more sense to keep Nickeil in the ballgame. A couple people wanted me to ask him about Dillingham, and we will eventually. I'm sure we'll get to that. But I almost feel as if here's the guy that we have to watch, I think. Really, there's two guys I think we have to watch as we go forward. And Finchie's trying to piece this together and what matchups or what combinations make the most sense. One is, who's the big Aussie we got from
Joe Ingles?
Joe Ingles. I like everybody. It's hard not to like the guy. He's been around forever. He tells good stories. He's fun. But I don't know. I have this feeling that if we're going to do this right, his minutes are going to go down. And that might open the door to occasionally seeing one of the younger players at maybe a 5 minutes, a 4 minute stretch, something like that. I hope we don't feel obligated to play him. Right. I'm not sure, frankly, what he's given you at this point.
The only thing he really gives you is he can move the ball.
He can move it.
And he had some nice assists, I think, pretty quickly, but he can't do anything on the other end, right? He's not going to guard anybody defensively, which is an issue.
Yes.
And he only played 4 minutes last night, but you can see it. I mean, he's out there just to kind of facilitate and move the ball.
Correct.
And then it's what are we actually doing here? What's the objective?
That's it. And the other one, frankly, is Jaden McDaniels, who you and I talked about before the show. And it's tricky with Jaden because most times you're going to say, well, no matter how frustrated you get with him offensively, he's going to help you defensively because he can guard any of the 5 positions. But I think if we're evaluating defense as being more than that, and including rebounding, and we say, well, come on, what's going on here, man? You have to be able to grab, I think, a greater number of rebounds. So those are the two I'm kind of watching. And the great unknown is, how radical Finchie is going to be willing to be, especially as it pertains to Jaden, because I would assume he's got to be in the classification of, well, he might play down the stretch, he might not. And I think that's the way, especially I think early in the season, that's the way he needs to look at it. He really needs to be fearless and not, well, I got to come back to these guys. And I still sense with Rudy, he feels that obligation a little bit. And I don't know, Rudy didn't do much for me yesterday.
Well, I think the Rudy inclusion was because they weren't rebounding.
That could be.
He was kind of the one guy. I know Nas had 9,
but even when he was in, I don't think they were pounding us on the offensive boards, whether it was with him or not. Now again, he can't guard he can't block everybody out. I get that point. But the
McDaniels thing is they've got to figure out. In my opinion, he had 4 rebounds, and I don't think that's enough.
No, it's definitely not.
Especially if you watch, you can see he's kind of in the vicinity at times. And to his defense, there's been times, I'm thinking second half against the Lakers right away, where he comes out and you can tell he's making a concerted effort on the glass.
Yes.
He's grabbing a rebound with 2 hands, and he's being aggressive with it. So it's just
Nas was doing some of that last.
Nas had 9 rebounds.
To get more involved in the boards,
and he needs to as well.
He does, and it's been discussed
because he can't be 6th man of the year Nas Reed anymore. I think he has to be a little bit more than that, and a little bit more. And the 5 turnovers for Nas, he's still too sloppy with it, which drives me crazy. But the McDaniels thing is they've got to figure out what they want him to be offensively and what he thinks he is offensively.
That's it.
And they still, I don't think, because every time he gets the ball, I feel like and he makes some good plays, and he'll do a step back every once in a while. He'll do a runner in the lane. He'll get to the line. He can obviously finish decently. But there's times where I feel like he thinks he's got to go like Anthony Edwards on the bit and create something. And to me, that makes no sense. And so they've got to find some type of way to just to have his expectations of what he's going to be offensively hammered in, because there's just too many times where it doesn't feel like he knows exactly what he should be doing with it, or they want him to be doing with it. I don't know.
I think all those things are accurate. I also think, Dallas is well built. It's a well built club that's going to be a factor again.
Their guys all know their roles.
They know their
really
roles.
well.
I think they're well coached. I think
Agreed.
Kid's a good coach. I think people underrate him because he's fairly quiet. He doesn't really say that much. He's not barking a lot. And sometimes we assume if you're barking a lot, you're coaching well. And it doesn't necessarily mean that. I think part of the reason is if they bark a lot is that they, like you said, they sort of know what they're up to. They're not the perfect team by any means. They're beatable. Wolves beat them regular season. I guess I'd forgotten that 3 out of 4.
Yeah, a couple without Kyrie, I think.
Oh, that's right.
And there might have been a Luka game too.
And
it was pretty irrelevant.
And also, the big trade they made came
before the games were all before
that. Yeah, that's true. So that kind of made it perhaps a little bit irrelevant. Are you at all offended? Were your feelings hurt that it was a TNT doubleheader, but they didn't bring the A group here? They saved the A group for the second game. Did you take that personally?
Not really. I'm guessing there's football ramifications for Harlan, because you're talking about Harlan, right?
Yes.
And we got Ian Eagle. Was that who did it? I had it with the sound down.
It was Eagle and
Stan Van
Gundy.
I like Stan Van.
I do too. I think he's good. But I'm just saying, I didn't see the TNT crew. Did they lambaste us again?
I didn't watch it either. I was so disgusted last night that I just sent out like 4 or 5 really annoyed tweets and went to bed.
Yeah, it was.
I don't like watching TNT when the Wolves lose. I'm a rube. I can't help it.
No, I don't blame you. And it was, again, the way
it went down.
Lost. 20 turnovers and just especially fourth quarter, the gap on turnovers was dramatic, and that's absolutely avoidable. 100%. And 2 of them down the stretch were Ant. And I get it. He's got the ball in his hands a lot. I still would like to see him give it up a little bit more. He's done a little of that, and then it gets back to him, or maybe perish the thought somebody else occasionally take a shot. I think, because I'll tell you something. Julius Randle can make shots in the fourth quarter. He can. And I hope in the pecking order that's understood and accepted, that there's opportunities for in other words, when you're in a tough half-court defensive situation, I really think there are times where it may make more sense, depending on the matchup, for Randall to have to break somebody down and to just let him go a little bit than always making it about Ant, especially now when he's taking, for me, not just it's too many threes, but some ones that just aren't that good. They just don't look like particularly good shots to me either. We have Kessler in the house. He's going to come next, and we'll get to a lot of political stuff. Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line is open. That number is, as always, 646.
I wish the American media would take a great look at the views of the people in Congress and find out, are they pro-America or anti-America?
Pat Kessler.
Because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
I can't trust Obama. He's an Arab.
Pat Kessler.
You don't want to be too small, if you know what I mean.
I did nothing wrong at the Minneapolis airport.
Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
Pat Kessler.
And now, to help Dan break down all the tough questions in politics, it's
Who would have thought that?
Pat Kessler.
Political Wonk.
I feel like a supermodel, except like times 10.
Wear pants, not wear pants. You can do whatever.
With Dan Barrero on the Fan.
I clearly have not been paying very close attention because Kessler has walked in basically forecasting another Halloween blizzard.
Blizzard!
So what's changed about I thought it was like we were going to get rain with maybe a little coating on the grass. Is it all changed now?
It's what we like to call a wintry mix.
We love the wintry mix.
Yeah, the wintry mix.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's going to snow, so we can we remember the Halloween blizzard? When was that?
Like yesterday.
91?
That was 91, yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Are we sure it was 91?
I'm not.
You didn't even help cover it, did you? Because you couldn't get out of your own driveway.
No. It was all hands on deck, brother. And there were only a handful of us, and it didn't include me because I had the family van or whatever. It did not include me. There was only a handful of us that had what was then knew. It was called four-wheel drive. So a four-wheel drive Jeep, one of the employees would go around and pick us up and take us to work. It was unbelievable.
Why didn't you have four-wheel drive? It existed then.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Probably cost, $200 more.
Among the dumb things I did when I first moved here was the second car I owned here was a Nissan 240 SX rear-wheel drive.
Dan Barrero.
How stupid.
Chick magnet.
Yeah, well, it's perfect in January.
And it's like 4 inches off the ground.
And it weighs like 82 pounds.
Yes,
it's just the worst.
So the wind will push you off the highway.
Yeah.
The blizzard wind.
To this day, recall, I'm on my way to Winter Park to interview Wade Wilson. And I'm running late. And I'm on 169. And I just turned on to 169 off of the interchange there, and I spin out in the left-hand lane.
Of course you did.
End up I was fortunate because instead of hitting anything like concrete, I hit a snow drift to the side. Suffice to say, didn't make the interview and realized right then I was a complete fool. Forgetting it was because it was lovely in the summer. You got that little spoiler on the back. Oh, it's impressive.
But
car.
Think about what you were doing when you bought it.
Yeah,
like this is going to be me when people see me. I'll be in this. Now, how much are they worth now? What do you think?
I have no idea.
Okay, I just looked it up.
Exist anymore? Do they?
They don't.
Yeah.
So they're classics. If you still had that car in mint condition, right, as high as $80,000.
Seriously?
A Datsun 280Z?
No, this was I think was it 280?
280X?
I don't remember what it was. Whatever
God.
it was. It wasn't the fancy. There was a much fancier, more expensive one.
Had like the spoiler bar and everything on it.
Whatever. Because I remember, I remember being a different time in the parking lot. And it was when, do you remember in '87 the strike, the NFL struck, and some players were still trying to practice. And Steve Jordan sees me, the old Vikings tight end. He sees me pull up in this thing. And he says, hey, he goes, that thing can go like 0 to 80 in 2.3. I said, no, man, that's the fancier one. You got me mixed up with that. No, I don't have that kind of. I don't have that kind of coin, Steve Jordan.
So it went 0 to 60 in maybe 12 seconds.
It might have been 12 to 15
That's
seconds.
just great.
Yeah. And it was, again, rear-wheel drive.
I mean, they all go. They all go. Yeah,
nice,
the rear-wheel drive. Why even bother? You got to throw sandbags in it. And
let Kessler know, writes Maury Amsterdam guy, that four-wheel drive was invented approximately 120 years ago. You just weren't familiar with it. You didn't have any four-wheel drive tractors back in the day?
No. And what we used to do, we'd have the trucks like a front-wheel drive or a rear-wheel drive truck, and you had to throw sandbags in the back.
Yes.
And double duty, so when you got stuck, you could cut open a sandbag and throw it under the wheel. So, yeah, that's kind of it. But Halloween is now a big deal. Halloween is one of the biggest holidays of the year.
Well, when hasn't it been a decent? I mean,
I think
bigger?
that's recent, isn't it? I mean,
Halloween's gotten bigger?
Was it that big when we had the Halloween blizzard in 91? I say,
as a holiday?
Yeah, I say nay.
I don't remember any big switch.
I keep hearing.
How's Halloween grown? I mean, there's always been kids.
Well, yeah, I mean.
This sounds like a manufactured TV story where you want to believe it's bigger, so you pretend it's bigger when it's the same.
Well, I maintain.
Okay.
And I could be wrong, because I'm wrong often.
Well, we all are.
But I sound very certain.
You do sound certain.
That this, as far as merchants go and merchandising, and I think this is one of the top, next to Christmas, maybe one of the number 2.
Okay.
I don't know that for sure.
You might be right. Do you have rules? Do you have any trick-or-treaters at your place?
It has gone down over the years, but now the neighborhood is coming back. A lot of new kids.
So do you have rules about age? Like if somebody who looks to be like 16, do you ask for an ID and say, if you're really 16, I'm not giving you anything?
Yeah, they got a doobie and they're out there. Yeah, then you
give
always
them the candy.
You got to give them the candy.
Yeah, give them the candy.
Always give the candy.
I mean, don't let them grab all the candy because they're older.
No. You got to. I mean, if you turn someone down for candy,
that's wrong.
What's
wrong with you?
It's not just morally and ethically wrong.
Yeah.
You're going to get your house egged, aren't you?
There's that danger.
No, you're too big. You can't have one.
Yeah.
But no, we get little kids,
right.
and I put the boom box, quote unquote, outside with the scary music, the whole deal.
Are you one of those high-minded, foodies that says I'm not giving
carrots?
Exactly. I'm going to give you vegetables.
Yeah, little.
You don't know how you're screwing up your body. Do you do all that nonsense?
You don't know me very well, do you?
No, not in that regard.
Because I at one point was giving out airline-sized liquor bottles. No, I mean it's party
a bit
night.
Dangerous, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's as bad as the candy can be. High calorie, chocolate. Bad for you. That's what you give out on Halloween.
Before we get to politics, we owed, and you're certainly old enough to know this name and perhaps appreciate this name as well. We owed Terry Gaar. Terry Gaar died at the age of, what do we find out, 79 years old. She's been battling MS.
79?
For a long time, yeah. So, that name means something to you? It meant a lot to me. I thought she was always very effective on the Letterman show. I thought she was effective in a number of motion pictures. I thought she was generally kind of underrated
Extremely,
as a comic actor.
She was like America's sweetheart.
Yeah, a little bit.
Movie star, the comedian. She was somebody who her performances were always understated. She was very pretty in the way that she was wholesome. And then with David Letterman, the one thing I can remember, and I'm sorry to say I haven't read the actual obits, only seen some of the clips and read the headlines. But as I recall, she was a frequent guest on his show. And were they both from Indiana? I don't know. I
don't think she was, but he obviously was.
But they both had this Midwestern sensibility. And this wide-eyed wonderment about
she could bust
life.
his butt, for want of a more indelicate or delicate expression. She could bust his balls. She was good.
That's indelicate, yeah.
It's indelicate, but she was good
Absolutely.
Because Letterman didn't allow that from many guests.
He let her do it.
Exactly. That was the beauty of that relationship.
He let her do it because he could be very prickly.
Yes, he could.
And apparently with Letterman, he did not mingle with the guests before the show In addition, he kept the studio at about Halloween blizzard.
27 degrees
levels.
Fahrenheit.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it was like
freezing.
But with her, it was like royalty coming in because it was really special. But all of her movies, the Mel Brooks movies, I mean, she
Young
was
Frankenstein,
really, really
she was very
tremendous.
good.
Yeah.
She was in, what was the Spielberg motion picture she was in? It was never my favorite, but it was a huge movie. What the hell is it called? The one with Dreyfus.
Oh, was she in that, the Close Encounters?
Yeah, I think she was in Close Encounters.
Was she in that? I did not know that.
We'll look it up, but I'm pretty sure she was in Close Encounters, among other things.
No, but she was more of the understated actor who captured every scene. I mean, it's one of these 1970s memories that we are now turning the page, which is why we.
Well, you can easily go down right now, this YouTube rabbit hole, because what has surfaced is a bunch of those appearances with Letterman. Some have been edited, some are extended, and there's a bunch of them that are very funny and very, very well done.
And her laugh, her laugh. And then it would be like, what?
The name I forgot to get into. We talked about she was outstanding in Tootsie. I think to a certain extent she might have made the film. We didn't mention, obviously, Bill Murray was remarkable in that film. Dustin Hoffman was the star, but Bill Murray also had a great role in the film as well. Is this true? I don't remember this. Don't forget, Halloween almost died due to the Tylenol poisoning. Took a long time to come back, so yes, it has grown the last 40 years. Is that true? I don't remember.
Well,
I remember something about the Tylenol poisoning.
Well, I remember the Tylenol poisoning because I actually interviewed the guy who claimed he did it. He's at St. Peter's Security Hospital here in Minnesota.
Is that true?
It's true.
Oh.
He claimed he did it, but he called me up and I'm the guy who did it. Yeah.
Okay.
So I went down and talked to the dude. FBI wasn't sure, but if I'm not mistaken, and our listeners can tell us this, did they ever catch the person who did it?
It's a great question.
But it was back in those days, yes, I absolutely remember, where someone was putting poison in Tylenol. You used to be able to open up a bottle of aspirin or whatever. You could open up any food product in a grocery store, and that was it.
That was it.
Now
the packaging is
absolutely.
Yeah. That's what prompted it,
because a bunch of people died from this. It was the most terrible terrorism of the American people. You didn't know what was coming, and so you didn't want to buy anything. This is also one of the great crises of a corporate giant.
Yes,
the
that's
people
right.
who own Tylenol, and I can't even remember who it is. Again, listeners tell us.
They'll let us know.
This was one of these events where they shut it down. There are billions and billions of Tylenol capsules or aspirin on the shelves. They took every single one of them off and lost billions of dollars, as they should have, to make it safe, and came back like that. Yeah, so I don't remember that it crushed Halloween, but it sounds plausible.
All right, let's talk a little bit about. There's a lot of election stuff to get to now that it's upon us. It's a week from yesterday, right?
It's
Tuesday.
Coming. Yeah,
it's
Tuesday.
Coming.
It's coming.
There's a growing theory that suggests that many of the pollsters who claim that this is an extremely tight race again don't really believe it, but they don't want their polls to sound all that differently from the others that say it's very close, and that eventually what we're going to find out is this isn't going to be as close a race as we have been led to believe, and that it is indeed Harris's race to lose, that she might end up winning by a bigger amount than people are willing to admit because they're afraid. It's the old, I'm afraid of being wrong, and then I'm going to get pounded.
Sick of that.
So do you buy, is there any, have you heard this theory?
I have.
What do you make of it?
I have. I don't buy it, and I will say this, very controversial.
Are you ready to pick a winner? Are you ready to go? Are you ready to go bold? Let's go bold.
This is a coin flip at a Vikings game. That's what this is.
That's not very courageous.
So we have we've talked about this. I believe that the polls were accurate 4 years ago and 8 years ago with the first Trump-Hillary. They were accurate. What you get down to these tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of people who have not yet made up their minds even to vote, and you get into what's called margin of error polling. And what a margin of error is when you see that Trump is up 50 to 45 over Harris, or 50 to 47 over Harris, but the margin of error is 4%. It could go either way, higher or lower.
Within the margin of error.
That's the margin of error polling, and that's where we are. The polls have not moved, and we've always talked about, you and me, watch the trends. Don't look at the poll, the snapshot of the day. Look at what it's been for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. They have not budged in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in Pennsylvania, really tiny movement in Arizona and Nevada, but they haven't budged. So no, it's wide open.
Not in Minnesota.
In Minnesota, the most recent poll I've seen is the KSTP poll, Survey USA, and that's a solid poll, and it's got Kamala Harris expanding her lead. She's now 8 points above Donald Trump. I think, what is it?
51 to 43.
51 to 43.
Yeah, right.
So despite what you hear from people like Tom Emmer, the Republican whip, and very prominent Republican here in Minnesota, Congressman Emmer, he says, no, it's really close. Might be too close to call. No, not true. Don't buy it. Right now, she's up. And very few undecideds.
How many votes do you think we can project, if you buy the premise, that the Trump side has lost or will lose on the basis of that enlightened rally at Madison Square Garden?
Madison Square Garden rally goes off the rails. This was going to be the big crowning event of the campaign. Who doesn't want to make it in New York? If he can make it there, he can make it anywhere. This is something that Donald Trump has dreamed about for many years because he's always been kind of shooed away. He wasn't really accepted in New York. He goes back there. It turns out to be, even before he gets on stage, a racist, misogynist, crude, from the warm-up, offensive, in particular that joke about Puerto Rico as a garbage island. But so how many votes? When you have a race that we just talked about that is that close, and you've got in Pennsylvania where the needle hasn't moved, you've got 475,000 Puerto Ricans living there. That could be a problem, even if just a few of them peel off when a race is that close. So, yeah, I think that could be a problem for him, and they know it also. They know that it is. The bad part about this is that they bought into the old bro jokes at this thing where Donald Trump had a chance to reset his campaign or give a final message and be the star of that show, be the Billy Joel on stage on one of his last shows at the Garden. And he's hardly ever mentioned, which has got to really tick him off.
Well, I didn't realize this. Was a couple people have reminded me. Who was it? It may have been Jon Stewart. Reminded people that this, I don't remember the name of this, the comedian, but he was among the comedians at the Tom Brady roast. Did you know that, or were you familiar with him?
I was. I'm not familiar with him at all until I went back and looked him up after this, and that was cringeworthy, was it not?
Well, across the board.
So Tony Hinchcliffe, so he is is popularly known as a roast comedian, and they actually, they had to submit their material in advance. And the Trump campaign did take out one really crude, misogynistic joke about Kamala Harris. And presumably they left all these other ones in there. So this was in the teleprompter. This was not stuff that was just ad-libbed. So that's what I had a hard time really kind of understanding politically why he went down this road. But it's the bro culture. He's appealing to those voters, these young men, male voters who listen to a lot of podcasts and love the insult humor that this guy brought. And as a matter of fact, they portray him, Trump, as the Don Rickles of 2024 politics. Yeah. So that's the thing. So it's a lot of people like that kind of humor.
Maury Amsterdam guy, who I think he would not be offended if I said he might be shaded to the right side of the political aisle. has a question for you. Any chance you can ask Kessler about Biden then calling Trump supporters garbage, or is he on the apostrophe side suggesting that Biden was referring to a single Trump supporter, which is what many in the legacy media are saying?
Maury Amsterdam guy stepping on my touchdown call.
It's on your list.
Because that's the second thing about this. So then, I mean, you're absolutely right, Maury. Or do I have to say the whole name?
I think he won't be offended.
I mean, that's the deal. So then you've got Kamala Harris giving her big closing remarks. And, you know, it was spectacular. She's at the
White House background, right?
Yeah, White House background. You know, you can see Biden. You see the drapes moving a little bit like he's looking out. And it's a beautiful background on the spot where Donald Trump gave his January 6th insurrection speech. You're like, get down there and I'll walk with, and it's just, you know, but she was on a roll and she was upticking, I think, and really playing on this Puerto Rican stuff. And then Grandpa Biden comes out and he's doing an appearance and he ends up calling, you know, he's all worked up about the comedy at this thing where they called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. And he said, what I said, all the Trump supporters are garbage. What?
You really can't make it up.
You can't.
You can't make it up. Because you had the advantage. You had it. And you squandered it.
Oh, my God. And so you got to believe that Kamala Harris is like, I cannot believe it. You know, and he has had a minimal part in this campaign. He has not been out on the campaign trail, has not been doing stuff. So you let him out, and he's going to do a get out the vote thing, kind of, on a Zoom. And then, no! You know, the videos where somebody said, you can't catch him, no, stop it. And he did.
There's no apostrophe. He tried to bring it back.
That's pretty creative.
I do think. And I think Harris was smart. The last quote I saw from her was, Joe tried to explain that, but let me just be as clear as I can. I don't believe in calling anybody who doesn't agree with us garbage, which is all she can do at this point. But it is in the classification you say is like, well, you have it in here. In your notes, only a few days left. Make sure we keep Biden away from the microphones. Hey, stop. Oh, damn, too late. That's it. That conveys the emotion of it perfectly.
It's like, no, stop. You've got to stop. And so, he did. That's what he did. I don't know how bad this messes up. But so the advantage is taken from her. And then you can look at the other side because the faux outrage by Trump, who has.
Well, you saw what he's campaigning. He's in. Where did I see it?
He's got to be in one of the swing states.
He's in a rally in Green Bay today.
In Wisconsin.
Oh, he's in Wisconsin.
With Favre tonight.
And his entrance vehicle tonight was a garbage truck.
It was not.
Yeah, I'm not making that up.
No, it's not.
You got picked up.
Yeah.
Stop it. Is that true?
Yes, it's true.
You're making it up.
I'm not making it up to get you going.
Turn around, Kessler.
There's the garbage truck.
Okay.
We need this to end so badly.
Yeah, so
it's never going to end.
So is he driving or is he a passenger?
He's a passenger.
Okay, so the passenger in a garbage truck, because I always wanted to be a garbage man. That's the first thing I wanted to be growing up.
Glenn Mason rode in the back of a garbage truck.
What you do is you get out. If you're in the passenger side, you have to lift up the can.
That's true.
And throw it in the back. So, all right. So here we are. That's where we are. And today is Wednesday, and the election is on Tuesday. So it's going to be a hell of a 5-day thing coming up.
Let's get a break in. We got a lot more to get to with Special K, Pat Kessler.
That's hilarious.
It's not probably surprising at this point.
Your Minnesota Wild are red hot to start the season. Bill Guerin's going to join us tomorrow, by the way. Don't miss out on seeing them in action starting Friday against Tampa Bay. And tickets are available now at wild.com/hockey tickets. That's wild.com/hockey tickets to get your tickets today.
We got some questions that are coming in fast and furious for Comrade Kessler. By that, you know exactly what I mean.
That's funny. Come on, people.
Let me get to
doing the best I can.
The big one that I
see him getting ripped on social media.
Are you?
Yeah, I mean, we, they say, why don't you say anything about Kamala? We did.
I don't know if we could have been any clearer about it at all. All right. Here's 763 guy. Senator, this is with a bunch of laugh emojis. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's laughing with you. He's laughing at you.
Well, get in line.
Senator from Puerto Rico endorsed Trump. LOL. Y'all are lying your ass off. Also, Puerto Ricans have come forward saying they weren't offended by the joke.
Yeah, there were like 3 or 4.
Like there's a monolith. All the Puerto Ricans said everything is fine. And also look at the reaction of the crowd. They didn't really laugh. No, that's what's interesting.
Yeah, they didn't.
Yeah,
that's true.
There was an uncomfortable feeling
and then
of
it's like,
what are we doing?
And
here?
I think Tony Hinchcliffe was the first comic who was up, and they're like, wait a minute, no. Well, 763 guy?
763 guy.
Yeah, 763 guy. I mean, the thing about this is that one of the people who is not laughing is the Archbishop, the Catholic Archbishop, who is demanding a personal apology from President Trump. So, I mean, there are a handful of people, and they are not a monolith, and there are a lot of Latinos who are of Puerto Rican descent who are supporting Trump.
Is this story...
Will this be the ones who don't?
Right, that's what we have to find out.
Yeah.
Is this story true? When I was 16, this is from Texter Brad. Mm-hmm. When I was 16, I went trick-or-treating at the Kessler home. Pat answered the door dressed up as Don Shelby, punched me in the face, and took my bag of candy. Man, that's...
But they didn't have cell phones, so he couldn't prove it. Yeah, this was the blizzard was a terrible thing. My beautiful daughter was Catwoman.
Yeah.
But that's a real slinky thing, and you get a tight-fitting leotard type thing. But she couldn't wear it. She had to wear the big puffy coat.
Which kind of defeats the whole purpose.
Man,
I bet you she was bitter.
Oh, she was upset.
Well, how old was she at this point? Like 12? Yeah, that's a little young to wear a sexy Catwoman.
No, she was probably 5, 6, All
right.
Come on, Dan. It's,
What is Kessler's take on the Star Tribune and more notably the Washington Post, because it's gotten a lot of attention nationally, and the LA Times not doing a presidential endorsement this year?
I've thought about this a lot, and I don't know whether to be outraged or joyous about it. I've thought about it a lot. What does an endorsement of a political candidate make a difference? I'm going to say maybe tiny bit, but I'd say mostly no. Is it the job of a newspaper to endorse? It's been a tradition.
It has, for
absolutely
sure.
been a tradition.
Yep.
And the politicians, the public officials, the candidates are really fighting hard to get that, because it's kind of like the bumper to bumper seal of approval. That's what it is. In this case, at the Washington Post, what is the problem is that it was announced.
The timing, right?
11 days before the election, it's announced. Around the same time that the owner of the Los Angeles Times announces this, both of whom reportedly are concerned about their relationship with a possible future President Donald Trump. Bezos has billions of dollars worth of government contracts, and President Trump has not been shy about taking stuff away from people or giving them a hard time, canceling contracts, if they cross him. If that's what it is, instead of the slogan at the Washington Post, democracy dies in darkness, someone suggested it should be democracy dies in silence, because they're silent about this. Meanwhile, they've got 250,000 subscribers who have canceled their subscriptions to the Post, which I completely...
Their online subscriptions.
Completely oppose that. I don't think that does anything except hurt reporters. Don't cancel your subscription.
Cancel Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I mean, you could do something else. The Los Angeles Times owner.
These newspapers, starting with the Post, Woodward and Bernstein pointed this out in a statement. Now, by the way, I think they preferred that the endorsements continue, but they also said, look, we're one of the papers that over the period of these last many years that Trump has hit the scene has done some of the best reportage attempting to vet
100%.
what he's all about.
100%.
And that's where I don't get I'm going to cancel it because to me, that's really where the rubber meets the road. Now, if we start seeing they're pulling their punches in their news pages as well, then you really got something where you go, wait a minute, you have completely compromised yourself. But they have done a lot of the very good reporting. I'm with you. For me, it's the timing. You should have announced this because I think the Star Tribune announced it in
August, I believe.
Where I think you could
around
say,
the time of the rebrand.
Exactly. Where I think you could say it's a little bit more justifiable. I go back and forth on whether it matters. I don't think papers should feel obligated to do it, but the timing comes off as, didn't you have a couple big business meetings coming up with a couple of government contracts? That's where it looks very shaky.
As it happened, and they claim they knew nothing about it, Bezos claims this, that one of the, what's the name of his space company, Blue Origin or something like that?
Yes, right.
They had a meeting with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago on that day. So, follow the crumbs, connect the dots, whatever it is. Overall, I want people to understand there is a firewall between the editorial department, the editorial board, and the news department. They don't intermingle at all. One has nothing to do with the other. Just because the paper endorses a Democrat doesn't mean it's going to be Democratic coverage on the front page. I mean, that's just the way it is. So I'm really conflicted as to what it is, but if this is the kind of anticipatory obedience to the next president, I think I do have a problem with that.
Is this a night? Your last item. Let me see if I can find it real quick because we're almost out of time here. Where are you? There's Kessler. Mm-hmm. So the reality checks you had included. Why don't we get voting results on election night? We used to, didn't we? Well, didn't we? So is this going to be one of those? Because a couple of people had sent some things about in Arizona. There's already some fishy stuff. So is this going to be one of these nights that we don't hear what we think we're supposed to hear because it's close or because there's some breakdowns? What do we have to pay attention to here?
Well, I am doing a couple of reality checks this week. Tomorrow we're doing one on the election. Will we know the results on election night? And because the race is so close, I'm going to say, no, we don't. We will probably know the results here in Minnesota because in Minnesota, one of the things we do is that we can prepare the ballots, process a lot of these ballots ahead of time so that we are ready to go, the mail-in ballots, and then we will tabulate them immediately when the polls close. There are a lot of states, including the battleground state of Wisconsin, that cannot even process some of their mail-in votes, open the envelope, take the ballot out, set it aside, all of that, compare the signatures, all of that. A lot of them cannot do that until election night. That's what the law is. We elect a president not by a federal vote. They are state by state votes, and every state has a different rule, a different law. So are we going to know? I'd say probably not. This might go for a couple of days. I want to be very clear that the irregularities, quote unquote, that our listener notified us about, those are not examples of fraud. And if we don't know who is the winner by midnight on election night, it doesn't mean there's fraud. It means we are counting votes, which is exactly what we are supposed to do. Meanwhile, the Trump campaign says it publicly, outwardly. They're spending money on it. They have a room full of lawyers, a building full of lawyers that is ready to challenge the results if it's a close election or if President Trump loses. So, no, we are not going to know. Probably it might be a few days. Remember, with Biden, I think we didn't know till Saturday, 5 days.
Was it that long?
4 or 5 days.
Okay.
I think it was Saturday morning.
I don't even remember.
Georgia went for him.
So you're not going to give me your flat out prediction. This is because this is your last chance before Tuesday. Okay. You don't have to. I'm not.
Well, yeah.
Demanding
What I'm saying is, if you think if I made an educated guess,
yeah, you're allowed to do that. You've been in this for like 80
educated
years.
Guess, I'd say I don't know because it's that I've never seen an election.
America.
Fran Tarkenton ain't taking it well.
I have never seen an election this close with looking at some of the polling data. I just haven't.
Who would have thought that?
And it hasn't moved in weeks. So I think Donald Trump could win this, and anything small like the Puerto Rican joke could throw it off.
So when you join us next Wednesday, you think there's a decent chance we still won't know? Because Election Day is Tuesday.
I'd say it's probably less than 50-50, but we should probably know within a week, I would say.
Okay.
Now, let's remember 2000, and I'm old enough to remember what it was like with George Bush and Al Gore. That was 36 days.
Well, that went to court, too, right?
That's it did. Right, yeah. And this could go to court?
Could go to court.
This could absolutely go to court.
Yeah,
36 days. The longest was your guy, Rutherford B. Hayes.
Rutherford B. Hayes, an underrated president.
Underrated. 1876, it went 4 months. So, I mean, we have become used to.
Wow.
We've become used to having
instant analysis.
Absolutely. I mean, when the networks predict a winner or when they categorize a state as a winner, that's nothing official.
Right.
That's just their
projection.
They're nerd guys. They're
analytics guys.
Yeah, that's all it is.
That's all it is. Real quick, Gaardsy, did you have something?
How many political reporters that played fantasy football like in 2000, 2004, 2008 named their team the Hanging Chads off of 2000?
Pretty much every one of them.
How many times did you use that in fantasy sports?
That's the name of my garage band.
The Hanging Chads?
Yes.
And what do you play again?
Sometimes bass. You know, I'm kind of like the guy from Spinal Tap playing bass.
Right. Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying here.
Know what you mean. Yeah.
The guy is drunk, but there he goes.
Godspeed dealing with the blizzard, the Halloween blizzard tomorrow, which I know you're very...
Yes, the wintry mix.
The wintry mix.
I mean, it's never going to be that good. Kids, all you kids listening, it'll never be that good.
No, it's impossible.
We've used up all the great blizzards, and that was 1991.
That was 1991, and it feels like it was only yesterday.
I know.
Doesn't it? It's remarkable.
I know.
Pat Kessler on Channel 4 at 5, 6, and 10 o'clock, and I'm assuming a lot next week, right? Election week?
Yep. Happy election, everybody.
Outstanding. Let's come back, wrap up the show, remind you not only what you might have missed, but what you have to look forward to the rest of this week. We are, of course, in the middle or heading now towards the back end of Colts Week here in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Show Wrap is brought to you by American Pressure, commercial-grade pressure washer since 1975.
It's the bumper-to-bumper Show Wrap.
We were very live and very local today between 3 and 6:30. Mike Conley, the Timberwolves point guard, started off almost from the beginning of the show, probably about 3:02. If you missed that, I would podcast it. Interesting things from him about not playing down the stretch and his acceptance of exactly that formula and a belief that his fellow veteran players used to ending games need to come to grips with the possibility that that's going to happen from time to time. Mace in your face, back in studio for the first time in a month, and he was pretty much on fire today. Lots of good stories. Stay for the Ball State recruiting calendar story.
The promo poster.
It's just too good from Mace. And I gave him a chance not to talk about it on air, and he insisted in talking about it on air.
He's painting quite a picture of himself.
There's no question about that. And Kessler covering the political waterfront between 5:30 and really until the last segment wrapped up. X's and O's will follow us tonight. Vikings X's and O's, and then it will be Wild Weekly, which should be good given the Wild are just back from a wildly successful, no pun intended, road trip. Tomorrow should be chock full as well. We've got the inbox tomorrow. I think we're keeping Sean Salisbury for Thursday as far as we know right now, correct?
Yes, 3:30, regular week, regular schedule.
Regular schedule, and the inbox. And you can always get an early start by emailing Gaardsy right now, jg@kfan.com. Billy Guerin is also tomorrow, isn't he?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, yeah, okay. I forgot about Guerin. So it's a very full program tomorrow. We'll see if Billy is ecstatic about the team's start.
But you know what?
He'll play tough to get and go, well, we haven't really done anything yet, which technically they haven't, but certainly some good signs of progress. Prediction segment will be back on Friday with the usual Friday regulars as well, Ben Gessling and Lavelle E. Neal III. You are off Friday, jetting off to Champaign, Illinois, where the Gophers, who are favored right now will take on the Fighting Illini, coached by a guy who's never lost as head coach.
Yeah.
To the Golden Gophers. It's a great opportunity.
It's a big opportunity.
Because I think they're vulnerable right now, but they're also, they're Bielema, man. And
they're on solid footing. It's a solid program.
It's a solid program. He obviously knows how to coach. That's an early game, 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
You get in and get out.
I love going to Champaign.
Do you?
It's a cool college town.
Yeah.
And I'm selfish. Everything is walkable for us.
Oh, well, that helps.
We stay close.
Yeah.
It's an easy stadium to get around for the most part.
Were there any revelations of the PJ Flex show this week? Anything that stood out to you?
Did you hear that we all missed Coy Parrish playing a snap on offense on Saturday?
How is that possible?
After his interception?
You're a sideline reporter guy.
And he walked right by me from the right, and I'm so stupid.
So what did he do on the play?
He just ran a little pass pattern.
Is that maybe a hint of things to come?
PJ talked about it this week, said we're going to try to find some areas where he might be able to help us.
Huh?
Well, why wouldn't you give him the ball?
Well, you do. You just don't want to get him hurt. That's for sure.
He's Coy Parrish.
Yeah, that's true.
He's not like anybody else.
Indestructible. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we hope you'll join us at 3 tomorrow.
But you know what?